So welcome everyone. This is a session on CVs and application forms, and I will let Patricia do her magic.
Hopefully it's going to work this time. So apologies again
No
for the
problem.
delay.
No problem.
So yes, today, now we are going to talk about CV and application form, and I'm going to give you some tips that you would have heard earlier from Liam and Nick, but we'll go a bit more in depth on how to structure your answers. So I hope you'll find it useful. So what's important? What are the things to watch out for upon completing your CV or an application form? Well, you need to understand the role. It's highly important. And before even thinking about working on your CV or completing this application form, you need to make sure that you're very clear about the role that you're applying for. So it might sound obvious, but reading closely the job description and person specification will help you to understand the duties, the skills involved, and what those employers are looking for in the candidates. So for that, pick out any keywords that really stand out and highlight them as much as you can, all and each of those keywords. And again, I will provide you with some examples later on in the slide, because this will help you to tailor your application and your CV to the job, the precise job that you're applying for. As regard to essential criteria, if the essential criteria states that you need something in particular, like at least 6 months social work experience, 1 year experience with people with learning disabilities, for example, then you need to show that you have got the skills. If you haven't got them, then there's no need for you to waste your time and effort and waste the time of the recruiter as well, if you know that you don't possess the essential skills that they are looking for. They cannot shortlist someone who doesn't demonstrate those essential qualifications or the skill or the knowledge or experience that they are looking for. Do reflect on your skills and experience. So once you're clear as to what the employer is looking for and what's needed in the role, reflect on your own experience, the skills, the qualities. Think about relevant placements, relevant volunteering work that you may have done, previous employment, and the particular skills and working practices that you have developed through these experience that you've gained. So if you can demonstrate those skills, great, you're in a good place, and your chances of getting to interview are then far greater if you apply for positions that are relevant to your existing skill set and experience. Do follow instructions. It seems easy and obvious, but you need to follow exactly. You need to ensure that you complete your application form based on the instructions that they have given you. So yes, do follow. So for example, there may be a word count, and you need to be showing that you are meeting each word count, each instruction as requested from the employer. Okay. As regard to tailoring your application, again, this is highly important, and we'll be talking more about it in the following slides. Employers are only interested in experience and skills that are relevant to the role for which they are recruiting. So teasing out your most relevant skills, aspects of your knowledge and experience to focus application will demonstrate to these employers that you are the right candidate for you, at least on paper. Okay? What they don't want you to do is to cut and paste between application forms. Every written statement section of an application form is different. And if you are too generic and do not read the criteria, then you may miss out on being selected, which is what you don't want really. Do address gaps as well. It is important. So if you've been on maternity leave, if you've been traveling for a year, then again, do address it, do mention it. So here on this slide, these are the general competency questions that you may be asked on an application form, but also these are the types of questions that you will be asked in an interview. So you would need to be able now, if you can, if you can't provide examples for any of those, then I would say do find out alternatives where you would be able to work and gain the skills and experience that they are looking for. So, for example, describing a situation where you've used initiatives, you can use aspects of a work experience. It doesn't have to be relevant, you know, as long as you can describe a situation where you've used initiatives. It can be through volunteering work. It could be maybe through your traveling. If it is relevant to the social professions, then the better, possibly. But again, it doesn't have to be. You won't be failed, you know, for having extracted a situation which is not relevant to the work to the field of social work. That doesn't matter, as long as you have got the skills, which are transferable skills for the most part. Then it means to an employer that you can use them as well within the field of social work. You know, using initiatives. Not everybody has done it. Not everybody can do it successfully. If you have, then great. Let them know, and I will show you how to put this information together in the next slides as well. Sorry, I went ahead. And the way to put it in a form that employers are looking for would be to use the STAR technique, which is something that, again, you've heard previously with Nick and Liam, or to use the CAR technique. I like to call them STARE and CARE, just because I've added the E, evaluation, at the end of the STAR technique, of the CAR technique, which I think is very important. And again, a point addressed with Liam and Nick earlier. And using any of the above formula will really help you in offering structure to your answers. And also, it is a structure that employers now rely on because of the way it works. It works like a tunnel in a way. So you would provide the situation, the context as to where you were, in which setting, with which team, with a specific team, and then you would mention the task. So that's the situation that you had to deal with as a team, maybe, possibly. And then you would mention the action. So here, under the action, it's what you have done. They are interested in what you have brought to the situation in order to demonstrate the skills, the competencies that they're looking for. So it's all about you here. It's what you have done. And then you would talk about the results, so the outcome, preferably positive outcome. If you could, I mean, it's always much better to use a positive outcome, definitely. But if you didn't have any outcome to provide, it can be the case that you can refer to negative one, as long as you've reflected on what you would do differently. But again, I would want to leave it at least at an interview stage so that you can express it in your own words and so on. For an application form or a CV, when you talk about how you've met a situation, how you've dealt with it, it's always better to use positive outcome. So again, if we break it down a bit more, and also I forgot to say, 40% of your answer should be on the action section. So it's the I, it's when you talk about yourself and what you have done in order to, facilitate, or in order to make sure that the situation went ahead effectively. So this is how it would be structured. So first of all, you provide a sentence giving some information as to what it is that you are going to discuss based on the specification of the application form. Then you need to provide an example. So this is where you use the STAR, the CAR technique here: situation, task, action, results, and evaluation, if you can. And then the final sentence would show the reflection as to what you've learned yourself in the process. Okay? And also, yes, do be aware of the word count stipulated. It's highly important. It's highly important in the way that if you go overboard as regard to the number of words stated, then the likelihood is that they will cut your application form at the strict word count that they've given you to follow. So it means that the most interesting bit, which is possibly the end of your action, the reflection and evaluation, will be missing, which is again something that you don't want to do. So draft your answer first and then review it until you meet the word count stated. Okay, it's all about following instruction. It's very important for the recruiters to make sure that you can follow instructions and therefore follow the word count. So after that, I would like to show you an example. So here it's a specification required to show equal opportunities, how you deal, with equal opportunities and your commitments to showing those values, equal opportunity values. So I'll give you a second to read it. So the green one, as you can see, is your short statement. Here you are introducing the competencies. And then after that, the blue is the situation, the context. 2019, so it's precise. You worked as a facilitator to a group of students on the Aim Higher project. This is the situation. And then after that, in dark blue, it's the tasks that you had to do to encourage pupils from non-traditional backgrounds to consider university. And then red is the action. What did you do? Well, I designed a number of projects and specialized activities that recognized and focused on the diverse experience within the group to ensure participation. In yellow, you have got the result. The program was successful for the pupils and a rewarding learning experience for me. And then the purple is the reflection. The experience showed me that working together with mutual respect is more productive and rewarding. So there you go. That's the way to answer a competency-based questions, which is 80% of the questions asked during an interview as well would be competency-based questions, especially within the field of social work. And this is the structure that you need to follow. I'll give you another example on the next slide without the colors this time. And I'll give you a second or two to read it, and you will see the same structure and use that for interviews as well, because it works. That's what employers want you to do upon addressing each of the competencies that they are looking for. So think of your examples. I would recommend for you to, anytime you are working on an activity, whether it's at uni or through your volunteering experience or through the work as a sales assistant that you may be doing, do make sure that you record it on a notebook, on your phone somewhere, on your laptop, and following this structure as well. Again, because the more you use it, the better you will become at it. And it's a clear structure. It's easy to follow. It's like a journey. You're taking us through a journey, and it's important to get it right. So the personal statement. So it's a common aspect of those sectors that you will be applying into. And sometimes you are asked to write an overall statement, and you will have a question or a statement such as, please outline below evidence of your suitability for this post, giving specific examples. Full stop, that's all. That's what you've got to answer. Or sometimes you will be asked to write a series of paragraphs, usually with word count, word limit, around specific competencies. So in a way, the second one might appear easier, in a way that you already have all the competencies and all the questions, statements are referred to a specific competency. So you make sure that you provide your example following the STAR technique or STAIR technique. When you have just the one statement, as outlining below evidence of your suitability for the post, then what you need to do is to go back to the job specification and look at all the competencies that they want you to demonstrate, and tackle them one by one after the other. Okay? In doing so as well, do make sure that you do not use the same examples all the time. And if you can provide a different example every time for each of the competencies, that's even better. So not all of you would have enough experience possibly to do that, but as much as you can, do try and use a different example. And I know some of you may say, sometimes the questions are very similar, I can only use that example. Well, it could be the case that they look similar, but there's a reason as to why they are on the application form as regard to one of the skills that you need to hit, one of the skills you need to demonstrate. So again, that's why I'm urging you to write down any of the activities that you've done in different kinds of job. It doesn't matter, reflecting on the skills and using that STAR technique, because then you can easily gain loads of examples very quickly. Our downfall is that very often we do things and we don't realize what we are learning from doing those tasks. We don't really realize what we've done, even what skills we've used. By writing them down, it will show you, it will help you to reflect on the learning, on the skills that you're able to use. Okay. Right. So now, extracted from the job specification, I've put some examples. The list, as some of you would know, is much longer than that. You would have maybe 20 points or so to target. Here you've got only 3. So the first one, again, I've used colors. I use colors. Effective communication skills, both verbal and written, with colleagues, outside agencies and clients. Well, the reasons I've highlighted all those words, it's because they are looking for somebody with good, effective communication skills, but not just verbal communication skills, but also written communication skills, with you know, people in the community, with users, with clients. Well, not just that, with colleagues as well, agencies, external agencies, and clients. So here you need to meet each of those points through an example, as opposed to just talking about your good communication skills because you've given a presentation at uni which was assessed where you got a good mark. That wouldn't be enough, because here you've, in that presentation at uni, you would have used only your verbal skills, at least, you know, that what it would be assessed on. Your written skills wouldn't be assessed. Your colleagues, well, you could say it's your peers, maybe that could be okay, but outside agencies and clients wouldn't fit within your answer. So you need to meet each of the points of the specific criteria. Okay, and then after that, you move on to another example showing experience of working with legislation. So again, use your course modules, your experience, and so on. In the third one, it says understanding of departmental policy regulations in relation to protection of vulnerable adults, and it will be assessed through an interview. I would say to you, if you have got an example to provide on your application form, you may want to do that. However, you wouldn't much information at all, because it will be mainly assessed during interview. But again, if you are within your word counts and you've got some space for a few more and you have got an example to provide here under bullet point 2.3, then do write it down. It won't be counted against you, even though you've used your application form to demonstrate that you've got an understanding of departmental policy. So what you need to think about when completing your application form, it's the tone of your writing skills, the tone of your words, the styles the communication style that you're using. And again, of course, it has got to be professional. The word limit, do make sure that you don't get disqualified because you haven't met the word limit. That would work against you. Ask yourself, you know, what is the purpose of the questions? What do they want to hear? What do they want to find out? Well, break down that question, break down the statement that they want you to talk about, like I did earlier with the colors, and do make sure that you address each of those. Use all aspects of your experience, taking from studies, work, interests, I've mentioned that, and do plan ahead and do your research. And build in time to reflect on your answers as well. So you may have a few days in front of you as regard to the deadline in completing the application form. Again, on that point, I would say don't wait till the last moment to send your application form, because once an employer, once an organization has met, you know, the quota of the application forms, they will want to review. Even though the deadline may still be open, they will cut at that time when they've had enough application forms. So I know it's not fair, but this is what's happening out there. So don't wait until the last moment. It's not like when you hand in an essay or an assignment, you know, the deadline is the deadline. For a job, it may be cut prior to the official deadline that you've seen advertised somewhere online, for instance. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time. But if you know you've got days in front of you, you know, think overnight, sleep overnight, sleep on it, and find out as to what could be the best example to reflect the competencies which would address all of the different elements asked about you as regard to showing your competencies. And I've put some information here for you to be aware of as to why our professionals, our recruiters out there do reject graduates. So 36% of employers mention copy and paste approach. That won't work. Again, they are very good at finding out the fact that you've done that, just because they've seen so many CVs, so many application forms. they can feel it when it's not something that you've written. It doesn't, the tone, the writing style isn't the same. So please don't do it. 21% mention errors in spelling, grammar. Again, in the social profession, you will have loads of writing work to do, loads of report to write. So spelling, grammatical mistakes, should be typos, shouldn't be seen on a CV or your application form. So give your draft for someone else to read, because what happens when we keep on looking at the same document, we don't get to see those mistakes anymore. Whereas to a fresh pair of eyes, then it will look, they will be able to see it completely. And again, as careers, this is one of the things that we can do for you. We can review it. We can give you some advice on how to structure your answer if we think that it's, it doesn't really follow that star system. It doesn't really feel right. It doesn't read fluently. So again, do contact us for us to check the draft of your application form. 29% of employers mention applicants not having the basic requirements. So that goes to those essential criteria to make sure that you meet all the essential criteria. If not, don't bother applying. And 14% mention a failure to research the role. So again, research is highly important, and that was mentioned earlier again by Liam and Nick. And I've got there's the link here where you can find the responses to those surveys if you want to find out more. Tailor your CV in the same way as you would an application form. Make sure that everything you include is relevant to the role you're applying for and echoing back keywords and pertinent skills. So those keywords that you've highlighted, I would want to see them in your answers as well. And it's a good guide as well for recruiters reading your statement, reading your CV to make sure that you've ticked all those keywords that they are looking for in graduates. Also, more and more employers now out there are relying on those automated machines that would do the job, the work for them. And those machines will be looking for those keywords as well. Okay, so do make sure that you have the keywords that can be found within the statements, within the questions that they're asking you on your application form. So, as regard to the CV writing, so here I'm going to give you more information on how to do it effectively. So you would start with your contact details, your name, surname, good professional email address, as well as one telephone number, not two. Sometimes I've seen two telephone numbers on CVs. It doesn't work, just the one. Make sure that your voicemail is professional. And then do put your LinkedIn account. If you have a LinkedIn account, again, that would show your professionalism. So if you have a LinkedIn account, do review it prior to putting the link onto your CV, but it's a good thing to do. Again, we do run events, we do run seminars, webinars on how to write a LinkedIn account. So don't hesitate to check our events coming up. There's bound to be one coming up in the next couple of months. Once you've done your introductions as regard to your personal details, then you may want to write a personal profile. It is an optional section in a way that you don't need to have a personal profile. It's, however, a good thing to do, I would say, just because our CVs very often are online, and it's not always possible to put a cover letter. So your personal profile would act, as elements of your cover letter. So it would be broken down under 3 sections. So who you are, professionally speaking, what you have to offer as regard to the skills, your experience, achievements, and then what you're looking for. So I've got an example here for you. a social work student in her final year with experience of in-school and after-school programs for teens and preteens with behavioral disorders, an ability to work with and motivate individuals with demonstrated excellent communication skills, liaising with social workers and psychologists, to develop individualized goal plans, now looking to develop a career in non-statutory early intervention social work. So here, in a nutshell, this is me, this is the experience I have, and this is what I'm looking for. It shouldn't be longer than 5 lines. It's just just brief information about who you are. Then you move on to your education and qualification. So here, start with your degree, and then the dates as to when you finish as well, not to present. Do put 2020 to 2023. Do mention the qualification, the degree that you're currently studying. So BSc Social Work at London Metropolitan University. UK if needed. If you're going to show various countries on your CV, you may want to put UK. And then do mention that it's an accredited course as well by Social Work England. Again, that sounds very professional, as it is professionally accredited course. Do try and mention the key frameworks as well that you are learning through your course, because again, that will be highly relevant to employers to get an idea as to what you're gaining through your course. So, such as the values and ethics, diversity, critical reflection analysis, professional leadership. Do mention that through using some of the modules that you would have done so far on your degree. Do mention the projects that you've worked on through your modules, referring to your assessments, such as your individual projects, but also group work and your presentations. But here, the idea is that you would select maybe 3-4 modules top, no more than that, not each of the modules you've gone through, identifying the most relevant one to the jobs, and then talk about those. So I've got an example here for you again. So in this module, in this ... module, I was given a case scenario where I had to devise assessments for a young person and her family which met specified standards and timescales. The assignment, presented as a report of 5 pages, allowed me to gain a sound awareness of a framework of relevant legislation and procedures, supporting individuals, families, and groups within the community. Children Act 1989 and 2004, the principle that underpins the framework for the assessment of children in need and their families, Working Together, Department of Health 1991, and Every Child Matters, which provides the legislative foundation on which policy and guidance has been built to inform social work practice assessment. And then do mention the grade that you got, so that would be, especially if it is a good grade, do mention it. So that would be your education. Then you work under what you did prior to coming to uni, so that could be an access course, it could be a BTEC, it could be A levels, whatever you did prior to that, great, prior to uni, mention it. Don't go too far back unless you're a young student and you've just finished your A levels, for example, then you may want to go down to GCSEs. But again, make it brief: GCSEs 5, 7, 8, 9 GCSEs, in bracket grade A to C, because employers are not interested in others below the C grade, including English, maths, and sociology, for example. But don't go far then, especially if you're more mature students. Just mention what you did prior to coming to uni and maybe another one before that, and that would be all. Do mention any professional courses as well, or even online courses that would be relevant. That'd be great. And relevant work experience, or you may want to call it social work experience. Do mention the placements undertaken through your course. You'll need to mention the 2 periods assessed practice placements that you've had, and supervised social work placements as well within the 2 different practices if you've done so, as well as the 30 skills days as well if you can, just to show that you've gained relevant work experience. And do mention the activities, such as, I don't know, conducting interviews with individuals and families to assess and review their situation, and the two can wrote up assessments with other professionals which met specified standards and timescales, or you've offered information and support. So do mention the activities that you were doing. Do talk in the present tense if it's a job that you're currently doing, and the past tense if it's something that you've done in the past, okay? We don't want to see present tense all the way throughout. So once you've mentioned all the various jobs, volunteering experience that you've had that are relevant to your field, then open another section called Other Work Experience. And here you would mention the sales assistant role that you may have had. You may mention the waitressing role, the receptionist role that you've had. And here, instead of putting the activities, do make sure that you talk about the skills, those transferable skills that you know are of interest to the employers as well. Okay? So as a receptionist, instead of putting welcoming customers, managing bookings, answering queries, which it's okay, but we are not that interested in your activities, put a short paragraph as to the skills. So I've got an example here for you, and it says, the role allowed me to develop my communication skills. I dealt with an average of 50 plus customers per shift, answering their queries and signposting them to relevant sections. I developed great attention to details, accuracy, and ability to deal with various members of the public and solve issues effectively through managing booking on the phone and face-to-face. So here I'm showing the skills that I've gained, which would also be relevant to the field of social work, the attention to details, the fact that I had to work, on my feet, and I had to deal with many customers, per shift. It was a fairly pressurized work environment, and I was able to handle everything effectively. So do talk about your skills rather than the activities when you talk about your non-relevant work experience. Achievements. Do mention your achievements. So again, that's very personal to you, and it's very subjective to you. What is an achievement now may not be an achievement in 10 years' time, but that's completely normal, and it should be expected because you'll have gained more experience and so on. So whatever you feel is an achievement to you is great on your CV. So it could be if you've received awards, if you've won competitions, if you've achieved high grades in your studies, if you've volunteered, if you've participated in sporting events, even as long as it's not too far back in time, it is a personal achievement. And it does show a more rounded you through paper as well, through a piece of paper, which would be your CV or even your application form. So I think it's good, but we'll talk in a minute about what interests are, which is very different to hobbies. But as regard to achievements, so it can be personal or professional. So professional would be if you've managed to save the company some time by devising a process, a system that works, or if you've saved company money through, an idea that you've had that would, yes, make them to spend less money as to what they were doing. Again, it's something good for your employers that you're contacting through your CV to know about. So do mention your achievements as well. If you've met and if you've exceeded work targets, again, that could be an achievement. And then after that, so it would be interest. So interest here. Employers don't want to see the word hobbies. I've mentioned that because hobbies, it's something that you do because you enjoy, but it's not an interest in a way that you haven't taken up to a higher level. So a higher level would be, let's say on your CV, I can see enjoy playing football. Well, if you play football at the weekend with your nephew, in the courtyard, that won't cut it, okay? What would cut it if you enjoy playing football and you pay on a competitive level, even at community level, but you play on a competitive stand, and you organize, even better, you organize those weekly 5-a-side games with friends. You organize a range of regional 5-a-side football tournaments, including managing all bookings, venues, and participants, and helping coach my own team. So that would sound much better. Same thing with singing and dancing. If it's something that you do at home, we are not interested. If it's something that you've performed on stage, then that becomes an interest. What we don't want to see at all on a CV under your interest is socializing with friends, eating out, and going to the cinema. Okay, that's a no-no. And I'm sure most of you would know about that. But it's worth reminding sometimes, because I still get to see them on CVs from time to time. So yes, that was here the skills for social workers. So these are the skills that you are bound to come across that employers in your field will want to see. So a good idea is to start putting some examples. I would say 3 examples per each of the skills here mentioned. Thanks, Michaela. And to put your examples together. Okay. Here I've got an example of relevant work experience, explaining what I've done working as a social work intern in the borough of Greenwich. And you can see I've put bullet points. I've started with a verb, an action verb, or an adverb: successfully run after school programs, I've quantified my information. Employers love to see figures on CVs. And then my second bullet point: developed and implemented. And then third one: participated. So started this way. It means a lot to employers, starting with a word, an action verb. And then I've mentioned my achievement as well, which have included figures in it. So again, if you do that will be great. If you go onto Google and you do put action words for CVs, then you'll have a long list, and it's much better to use those action words or action verbs than to say involved in, assisted. How did you assist? How involved were you? So by targeting, by putting those verbs that better describe the activities that you were doing, then you are gaining yourself some points. Okay, so search those action verbs, and it will make a difference. It will look a lot more professional. Same thing with the adverbs, cheerfully, effectively, successfully, professionally, efficiently. That will make a difference to your CV. What's in, one out? What's out on a CV? Your date of birth on a UK CV, we don't want to see. Same thing as gender, race, political, religious affiliations, photo. We don't want to see any of that. Marital status and professional email address. No. Reference contact details. All you need to do now these days for your security, actually, and security of your referees, it's to put available on request. That's all you need to do. It shouldn't be more than 2 pages in length, and you shouldn't have more than 1 telephone number. So to remind yourself, read the job description. This is what will help you with targeting your CV, your application form in a way that employers are looking for. Okay, use that. It will be your model that you will need, that you will use in order to put a good CV application form. Again, as part of your careers team, we are more than happy. This is what we do. We are used to reviewing CVs and application form. Please, before you press the send button, send us your application form for us or your CV to review, okay? Create a tailored. Tailored is the key word here. Identify keywords when tailoring. Make sure your responses are on target and error-free. Make sure the structure you use is the STAR, CAR technique, and fill out all the fields within the application process. Don't miss out on any at all, okay? You need to make sure, and again, that was mentioned by Liam and Nick earlier. So I think I'm right on time. Or
Yes,
Thank you.
Patricia, you are right on that. Sorry, we
Thank-
had the issue at the beginning and you might have
oh, I'm
missed some
telling
of the
you, that
points you
was
wanted.
scary.
Thank you. That was amazing. I think students will get so much advice from that, and I believe they can contact you in this email if they
Yes,
have any
please. Yes,
questions.
please. Definitely.
Okay,
Definitely.
and they also want to. Someone said, "Can you please show the slide about social work skills again?" Maybe they want to take a quick screenshot.
Uh-huh. Okay,
If
let
we
me
go
go back.
back. So, Joanna, if you want to take a quick screenshot of that, then we're moving to the next room.